Everyone, I am back. We are continuing on coding here. I want this done. It is late at night, but I'm going to put in the time to get this over the line. With many boot campers, they're probably trying to get their projects done to get Red Squad or do whatever they can. It's almost like I'm trying to get Red Squad myself. But anyway, we're going to continue on here. And so, we're working on the new game functionality, right? So that was the next step, was to get that to work here. I'm just going to go ahead and close a couple tabs out of here. I'm going to get my inspector up over here. And so it says load scene data, et cetera, et cetera. So we were working on the stuff. We have the dialogue and the story manager. It's hard to say whether we actually need two managers for that, as the story manager is managing basically the story state, and then the dialogue is managing the dialogue state, but it kind of feels like the same thing. Here we have the story structure being loaded into here, where we have chapter 1, chapter 2. This really should be external as data, but I'm just trying to think about this here for a second, because we can make a new folder here called story, right? Or maybe stories. There really is just the one story, but I'll go here and just make a new one called main.json. And so this can actually go into here, and I'm going to paste it in here. And so now it's kind of messing up because it's not valid JSON, but we'll go ahead and kind of fix that up. We have ourselves our first story here. I like it says initial scene. The scenes are in order, so there's no other place for them to go. Required flags. I'm not sure what that does at this point. It's saying before you can do the other chapter, you have to complete those things. I get it. Again, this is supposed to be done in a sequential order, but we don't really know what we're getting into as we are coding this. I'm just, again, trying to get something to work. So if there's things that suggest functionality, we might not end up doing it. We'll go ahead and do this here, and 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 this here. And anything else that has those single quotes, I'm just going to go ahead and replace it. If you look down below, I'm doing a regular expression down below here to do that. That's a Vim thing. And so we have stuff here. Okay, and this is chapters. So go ahead here and do chapters. Again, it'd be really interesting to figure out how we can work in LLMs into this. This is a visual novel, but if we wanted to build a daily simulator, the mechanics are different because you're doing a repetitious pattern. I kind of really want a daily simulator now because I find that would be really useful for study, but I'm going to continue on with the scope of what I decided for this project. But we have our chapters, it might have a name, like story name, so just say name, main quest, whatever you want to call that. And so that is now in place here. We do not need the story structure like this here. We would probably just load that in as a file. So we will need to think about that. So just go here and just put this empty right now. This should be loaded. Yeah, loaded from external file. Yep. And so now we have that external file because I just defined it. And so that will make that a little bit easier. But, I'm still trying to think about, here's like story, state key, probably the way it loads it. But I'm still trying to think about like, okay, what is it that we need to drive to get this working, right? So right now we're just loading the scene data. So here, it needs to load a very particular scene as it already knows what's stored. So we have this scene cache JSON get. I don't know what this is. I feel like that's completely made up. I don't think there's this station whatever. If we go over to here, it has an issue with the load scene data on this line here for the scene data. I thought the dialog manager, like this is like, so we have load scene data. I see load scene data. It's like it's showing me old code. I'm gonna go stop and start this again. We got to kind of cut through this mess here a little bit. I got to close this other tab. We don't need two of these open. Maybe the reason that was showing us that error was because it's loading the wrong thing. Has an issue with the .saves get. So we have .saves get. We did just implement that, so we'll go back over to our saves manager, and in here we have our get. So right here, so I'm not sure why it says it doesn't have it, as it's clearly implemented. But let's go back and take a look at this again, I suppose. And the error is undefined reading of get. So, when we get that, it makes me think that the saves does not exist. Maybe the way we're calling it is incorrect. So I'm going to let's go to the top here for a second. We do sign the global manager, so that's there. We'll do console log this.g. Let's see what we get here for that. And we'll go back over to here and give this a nice refresh. And so we get, or just yet, but this returns the game scene. Oh, the game scene. That's not the right file. This.g is supposed to be the global managers. So I think it's passing in the wrong thing, or it doesn't have the second parameter. So we'll go back to our game state, wherever that is, and our game scene. And in here we have something for this, I guess. Dialog manager, here it is. This is their problem. We're not passing it in here, so we'll do this.g. So that's going to get rid of that problem, but the rest is not going to really follow up correctly because it doesn't make sense. So we have the scene ID. This cache thing makes no sense. I'm not sure how it's grabbing that from there. So the question is how are we loading in that JSON data? Their external files. So, it did load it before, right? I would think that the data would get loaded in the index.html because we don't have a server right now. So if we go here, does it load the data in here at all? Right, we go here, JSON. Where's the data? So it's not loaded in here. So how is it bringing in the data? Because the data, again, is over here as a JSON file. I don't understand how it can load it in. So maybe it is loading it in with that scene thing. So go back over to our dialog loader, wherever that is, here, dialog manager. Put this over here. Yeah, I don't understand how it's loading data in. So I'm gonna go ask how is our game loading in the scenes JSON data, right? How's it doing that? Because I don't see it where it's doing it, so that's what I need a bit of help with here. From Phaser's JSON cache. Yeah, maybe the boot screen loads it in or something, or the preload. That might make sense. The preload might be loading it in. Load story data, that's where it is. It's in the preload. Let's go take a look at where that's happening. So we have this, these are data files, and it's giving them IDs, right? So we have this, all scenes here. So it's not just scene data, but we're also gonna load the story data. So this would be story JSON path, right? And so now we have the other file in there. So that kind of makes sense. That's how it's getting it. And so that's where that ID comes into play. The only thing is that, I guess we'd have to have an ID, but the only thing is that we have to be unique with these IDs. So maybe we would say scene hyphen and then story hyphen main like this. So this way it can distinguish between the two. Otherwise, I feel like it would have a bit of an issue. If we go here, we have the scene ID, then the cache here is going to be, we'll do this. Yeah, exactly that. And so that way it can load in the dialog data that way. And then here, start from the beginning of the saved position. So the idea is that we're getting the current dialog ID. We don't really need to do that. Like we do have the get saves dialog ID to figure out where the start point is, but I mean, I guess we can store it there. It's not a big deal, but it's not really necessary to store them like that. But I guess we could do that. So we'll have this dot scene ID equals null. We don't need to null it out. It's just I'm doing that so I can just see what's going on. And so we'll have dialog ID equals null. We'll just get that corrected there. And so we'll change that out to dialog ID like that. In the dialog data, there is a start set. So if it isn't that, then that would make sense. It would go there. And then we are now starting the dialog. So if we're starting the dialog here, I don't know why we're doing so many darn checks, but we can do that, I suppose. Is that even necessary? Yeah, I don't think so. Because if it loads it, we don't need to keep doing all these darn checks. Here we have, yeah, we'll change that out to the current dialog. So dialog node, this.dialog data. So find the dialog node, and then it's going to then display it. We don't need to display it here. This is something that would get ingested somewhere else. So here it's talking about displaying it and updating the character based on the location and character. I mean, if we have it, we don't need to do this some other way. So we can go up here and maybe say like this dot dialog node, right? And yeah, then we'll change that out to this. And we don't need to do that way. We'll just take that out. It is setting them here, and the speaker text, display the Japanese text with the display typing effect, so it's doing that there. Save the current position. It's not supposed to just automatically save. We're being explicit about it. Here's that typing effect that we have here. Again, I don't know about that. I think this would go into the UI, to be honest. So, and then we have on typing complete, immediate, advanced dialogue, handle choice, go to next scene, get speaker name. So we do have that information there. This would be more like additional data. So just this might be mappings. I might just go like mappings dot, hold on here for a second. We'll have mappings.json. That way it can kind of map up those names. And so we'll just take this out of here. Copy, and then we'll go to our mappings here. And here, I'm gonna just swap out the singles for doubles. You can see me doing that down below in the substitution. I did it really quick. I'm gonna just say characters. And this way we can swap out their names. Now, if this is a game, we might wanna have Japanese names, not just the English names. This will be something we'll need to figure out as we go here, character names. So say character names like that. And so now I'll have to go back into the boot manager here, or the, yeah, I think it's the preload. And I'm gonna go here and just say mappings. And then we'll have mappings. Okay, so that will, it is data, right? But, well, if that's the case, then why aren't these doing that as well? Maybe they're supposed to, and we just haven't done that. Yeah, it's not like it says that it has to be. I think we organized into the data directory. I'm not sure where it was before. But yeah, so we'll load that in. And so our mappings will just contain whatever we want to map over. I'm going to go back over to our dialog manager here. So we don't need this the same way. We do need to load our mappings. So we should load that somewhere. Just go like load mappings. So it goes here, and yeah, it's really as simple as that, this dot mappings, right? So go this, and we'll say this dot mappings is null. And then down here, we can replace the character data. Like, yep, just get rid of that. Yes, get rid of that, we don't want that, you're right. It says come from a separate data store, that is right. And here, it's grabbing it from the mappings like that, if not loaded. This mappings loaded, return speaker error. The mapping should be loaded, but I guess we can put that in there. It's not going to hurt anything, even though it's kind of verbose. And so now we can get the speaker name, which is nice. Again, all this functionality, this typing stuff, this really is going to go into the UI. So we have, I think, a UI that we created that we're not using just yet, which is the dialogue UI over in, where is it here? Dialogue UI. So we have create next button, stuff like that, create controls, show notifications, create dialogues, clear choices, show choices. There's a lot of stuff in here, not necessarily that we're going to use it, but we want to get this, some of these effects here. I'm not sure what's going on with all this stuff with advanced dialogue, but we want complete trying typing. So we'll take the typing stuff and we'll move that. We'll move that into here. We haven't really been using the update loop whatsoever. Usually with these engines, that's what you do. You drive things via the update loop and make things deterministic, which we haven't done yet. It's not a big deal, but we'll have to think about that as we are working with this. We have handle choices. Again, it's doing a bunch of stuff we don't need it or want it to do. But right now it does load in the node. So we do have here the dialogue node. And the idea is that we might want to extract out information from the dialogue UI. So we have a little bit going on here. We load the scene data and that's fine. I think, and then we have start dialogue here, but I don't want to do that here. So I'm gonna just take that out. And so what I'm trying to think of here is basically driving the dialogue UI now. So let's go back into our game.scene and we need to add in that UI if we have yet to do so. And we have here, we have like UI manager, that's fine, but let's go in and let's bring in this .UI dialogue, that's right. And then we're going to create it. And it's saying that it's hidden, but it's actually supposed to be shown because this one's always going to be shown on the screen. All right. So that is fine. Not sure about, we're not obviously doing this. We already loaded the save data, so we don't need this anymore. That makes no sense. We haven't worked with the input manager yet, so the UI manager is being utilized. It's just being utilized in a different way. We are using the dialogue manager. It's not in that way. Do we even need a start game function? Because the game is already kind of started, right? Here it's talking about like setting the scene, loading the data from the data here, failed to load it, start the dialogue, which is a way that we can kind of do it. Again, not sure about that. It really depends on what precedes that in terms of our code, which I don't know yet. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm just going to maybe leave that in for now. But we need to focus on the UI dialogue because that is what is going to power the dialogue. So we'll go over to our dialogue. It says dialogue UI, but this one's UI dialogue. I don't know why I didn't do UI in the front of these, but I did UI in the front of those. I mean, because I think of these as UIs. Maybe if I put UIs on the end there, but it's fine. So let's go all the way to the top. There's a lot of stuff in this file we got to kind of cut through. And I mean, it's defining a bunch of those empty components. But we will close this tab out for now. And so the first thing I need is the dialog box, right? So I'm going to go here and just comment this out. And I just want the dialog box to be created first. This is really simple. It is creating us an image, which is a square. So that is totally fine. So that's the start of it. I would say I like it when it's like kind of like this, dialog box. Dialog box, come on, dialog box. And then we do it this way. Okay, so we're obviously adding an image here. The way I want it to do, I want it to sit at the bottom of the screen, right? So it's supposed to span most of the width. I would probably think that we would have it a little bit more dynamic than the way it's working right now. So we have, 1000 as how it is, but we have the width and height here. So I'd probably do like this dot width minus, and then whatever the padding of the side is. So we'll just say like padding or margin. So constant margin. This will be the margin from the edges of the screen. Okay, so here we're looking at per side. Right, so if we have this, and I say, I think that might be a bit too hard, but we'll say, we'll try, not 100, that's too high, we'll say 60, or maybe 32 for now, 32. The idea is that, you have to times it by 2. That's what I was looking for. We don't need to, because of bed mass, it'll be fine, but I'm gonna go ahead and just do it this way, just so it's very, very clear. So there's that. I'm going to go here and say height, and we can fix it to 200 for now. I don't know what it should be, but it's not a bad idea to set it like that. So we have that now set up. It is setting the display afterwards, which is kind of silly. It's like we're doing it twice. So I'd rather just do this once. And so we have height here, and I'll just go constant width. And then we can bring it in this way, and we'll take that out, because that doesn't make any sense. And we will say width. Here it says this.height. Oh, you know what? Maybe the difference is one is the size, and the other one is actually where it's positioned. I wasn't really thinking about that as I was working through this. So this one's actually fine here. We do want to change this out to width. And this is where the x and y are going. So we're saying constant x, and then we have constant y. This needs to, well, this is the dialog, right? So this is actually going to be 0, 0. 0, 0 of wherever we want this to be. Because here we're going to have to set our x and y, right? X and y. And this will be x. And this will be our y, right? And so then this really is going to be our this.x, this.y. Yeah, there we go. And so that's going to get us our first structure in place. We need to specify where this is going to go. So I'm going to go back over to our game scene. And in here we have the create. So we have width and height, which is not exactly right. We want to have this from the bottom of our screen. But right now I'm just going to put 0, 0, just so I can see it in place, right? But probably what we want to do is keep it 0 on the x-axis. And it's really y minus whatever the height is to get to where we want it to be. But we will first just make sure that it's working and we don't have any other problems, as we really need to step through this carefully as we were changing quite a few things. So go over to here, and no errors so far, which is good. Got our music, which is fine. Background manager is not defined. It should be, but if it's not, I mean, it was working fine before, right? We didn't change anything in the background manager, so that shouldn't be an issue. We know that when something else breaks, sometimes there is a misleading problem. And so it says background manager undefined in the game scene. No dialog data found for scene 002, scene 2201. This is happening in the dialog manager. Let's go make our way over there. Let's solve that problem first before we look at anything else. And so what it's doing is it's trying to load in the data over here, and it's saying it can't find it, which I'm not sure as to why, but maybe it's the name of the key. So the key here is, where is it? Scene 001, right? And so this needs to be in our preload. So we'll make our way over to preload. Let's make sure that our preload's correct. Looks like the same key to me. Well, that one's scene 001, but I want it scene-scene 001, as that is what I've set it as. So we'll go back over to here. We'll go back over to our dialog manager. I want to be very clear that we know what the key is. So we'll just say constant key. We'll just say cache key. And then this way, it'll just be, yep, that's what I want. This way, then it'll match exactly what we expect it to be. And if we don't know what's going on here, we can just say console log this.scene.cache JSON. I'm not sure how we can get any. I just wonder if I could just do that and see at least what's on that there, because I can't really tell what's being loaded or not being loaded at this time. And we go over to here. We bring this on down here. I'm going to scroll on up, and we still have all these problems. It's 404 not found. Data. Okay, so let's go back over to our preload, as it seems to be prefixing the data here. So we don't need to do data. It's just this. And maybe that has to do with our asset loader, because we create our own asset loader, right? Yeah, we did. And so it's probably prefixing it with data. It is right there. So that was our problem. We don't need to specify data. We'll go back over to here. We'll reload this here. And hopefully that error is gone. So that error is now gone. It looks like it is loading. Well, at least not at this stage, but over here, maybe. And we are checking carefully. There's a lot of stuff going on, but we're carefully checking to see if there is an issue with it. I don't see it. So there's something it doesn't like about the background manager. I cannot tell what it doesn't like, but it says it's not defined right here. Let's go over and take a look at our background manager. It was working before. I think it was working before, unless we never tried it in this case. Oh, it says character manager here. Let's go fix that. I'm not sure if that's our problem. Some things need to be imported, some things don't. I don't know what needs to be imported and not. And we are still having this problem. So this is going to be the LLM's chance to try to help us out. So I'm going to go over here and give it to that. Let's see if it can figure it out, okay? All right, so let's go take a look here. And it's saying like I don't have them in there. I'm really surprised they are not in there. As, oh, it looks like it isn't there. Okay, well, that's definitely a reason why. But I really could have swore that that was included. Same thing with the dialogue UI. That should have been included. It's not a new thing, but maybe that was never included. I don't know. So we'll go here, and I guess we'll just include that. And so that's not what we wanted. No. Dialogue. I don't know where you're getting this background UI. That's not even a thing. So now those are in there, so that is good. We're going to go ahead and stop and start that, and that'll get us around that problem. Again, don't know how those weren't included earlier. We'll go ahead and hit new game. We'll take a look and see what our error is now. Dialog UI is not defined. We have included it, did we not? Dialog UI. Right here. Dialog UI. Oh, it's spelt differently. Okay, so which way is it spelled? We got to go over to our game scene over here. We are spelling it this way. And for some reason it chose, I mean, like, yes, I'm Canadian, so this makes more sense for spelling, but we're going to go with the other kind of spelling. The other kind of spelling. We'll go ahead and give this a nice refresh here, and we're going to go ahead and hit new game. We'll go take a look here. Cannot read main, so now we're getting this on that. So we're starting to get somewhere here. We're going to make our way over to our dialog UI back at the top here. Doesn't know what scene is. Scene's right here. It's right in front of you, but I think the thing is that I'm not sure if our dialog UI takes it. Probably does, but this should be called Globals Manager. Global Managers. There you go. Maybe that'll fix our problem there. Okay, I don't have to restart it every time, just force a habit. We'll go here, we'll click new, we'll go back. There is not a show function. We'll go back over here. Is this extending? This should extends. This should extends. It's not doing it today. We'll just split this over here and bring it in. Sometimes it's working, sometimes it's not. I don't know why. It's just kind of, there we go. Now it decides to autocomplete. So yeah, with game UI actions, this one brings in the UIM manager actually. That actually makes more sense. UIM manager. That's actually what I want to bring in here. And there we go. Because that's really what we're going to be doing, is we're going to be working with those interfaces, those UIs. So now if we start to stop that, we can take a look here. Kind of just guide our way through it. Must call superconstructor class to arrive for this. Oof. You just will not give me a break here, will you? We don't have super scene in here, that's why. There we go. We'll go back over to here. Give that a refresh. Try that again. Okay, great. So now we're starting to get somewhere. The set origin needs to be fixed here. I like how we have a nice little tiny border here, so that's fine. We'll go back over to here. I need to look for that border, or for this here. Say this dialog. We should just autocomplete. Even that's not even dialog box, and we'll say set origin 0, 0. That'll make our lives a little bit easier. I don't know, like, am I running out of credits or just not deciding to do it anymore? I don't know anymore. And so now we have our box. Now I want that at the bottom of the screen. I do want margin around our stuff. So we want this to go to the bottom of the screen. So we have our X and our Y. Our Y is there. I would probably set actually the origin. So we have 0. I'd probably do 0 and 1 here, and then that way I can just set it from the bottom like that way. And I can also just minus from the width. So if we go here and just say const x or y equals, no, it'd be like this dot y minus margin, so that we are getting the good margin here. So we'll go ahead and do that. And that way it's going to end up where we want it to go. No, I don't want that. I want y. Right? And sure, you can have a comma on there if you want that. And so we need to now bring in that entire height into that. So we'll go back over to our game scene. And in here, we're just going to go ahead and give it the height, this dot height, I guess. Is that what it is? Yeah, it's over here. It's actually just height. And so I would hope that that would bring that to the bottom of the screen into the position that we would like. We'll go ahead and give that a nice refresh here. There we go. Looking good. This is supposed to be over a little bit more, and that totally makes sense because it needs a little bit of a push. So we'll go back over to our dialog manager, not our dialog manager, our dialog UI. And so we need to bring over the this by saying this dot x plus margin, and that will get us into the center that we want. Didn't do it. Did not do it. I think because we need to replace that there. There we go. And we'll go back over to here, up into here. We'll give this a nice refresh. Okay, so now we have this centered, which is nice. I want the Japanese text to flow through this. I'd probably make the box actually a bit bigger. I think that's a little bit small because I probably want large font. I like larger font, to be honest. So I might put a 300 on this here. Okay, we'll give this a nice refresh here. I actually don't mind some of the choices it's making. Like the fact that this is transparent is totally fine by me. It'd be cool to control the transparency of this box. That could be a setting that we might want to do. But right now, again, we're just trying to keep it simple. We have buttons up here. Sometimes they put buttons here on the right-hand side, but that's totally fine. This stuff here, I'm not sure. We might even want that to jump out some way. I'm not sure. But anyway, also, the other thing is like we don't say exactly where we are. That might be something that we might want to specify is like where we are, what time it is, stuff like that. But right now we're trying to just load in the text. Okay, so we also have the name box, like who's speaking. So that's probably something that we want to have. This looks probably very similar to the one here. So we'll just go here and say this dot name box. Okay, and I'm just trying to think about this because now we're kind of getting into custom coding, kind of. We don't need a margin, but we do need to place this relative to the dialog box, right? And we probably want to know where this dialog box is. I'm not sure if we can get the X. We can probably get the X and Y of the dialog box that I'm thinking about it. So this one here, I'm not sure if this will work. We'll say dialog box. Can we get its X like this? X. And Y. I'm not sure if that's how we do it or if we have to go position.y. I'm not sure. But let's just assume that we can. I would probably, set the constant X to it and the constant Y to it. This would get this name box at origin 0, 0. Right? And then we would start with it here. So just say X and Y like that. And we just want to see where that box kind of appears. This one here is a rectangle. This one is actually an image. Why does this one look so much nicer than the other one? Because the dialog box just says add image dialog box. Oh, maybe we artificially created one in the preload. I'm not sure, but that's fine. We'll go ahead and get this nice refresh. It's really interesting because I didn't make that graphic, but it's clearly loading it in. Must have come in the preload. And so I don't see it there, maybe because we didn't load it in. So go ahead and we'll do that. And we'll go up here and we'll give this a nice refresh. and it's down here below. So you'll notice that it's actually doing it from the corner of this one for where its origin is. So to get this really where we want it to be, I will have to fiddle with it a bit. So we'll have to go here and say y plus or minus this dot dialog box height. And that will actually get into the correct location. Initially, anyway. So we'll go here, and now it's kind of centered in here. I thought that it'd be up here. I mean, it's in a better position than it was before. But we have the Y, right? So when we didn't have the Y, it was showing us where it was. Height's 300 here. So what's going on here? Why is it doing that? Let's try it. Let's take this out again for a second. And if we do this, it goes right to the bottom corner, right? It does perfectly to the bottom corner. So you think, again, if this is a 300 height, we just minus 300 and we get to where we want to be. So I'm going to go try this, minus 300. I'm manually doing it right now because I don't trust the actual height for some reason. And now we're in the correct location. So why is the height not actually the height that we expect it to be? Right? Because we set the display size. So is it like size? So I don't understand. Maybe there's something about images we need to look up. So let's go over here. We'll say phaser images, phaser image. Let's take a look at what properties we have. That's what I'm trying to find. It's like deprecated, class image. What are you talking about? I'm using it right now. Maybe because it's the old phaser, but... So I'm looking for here is the property for its height. Display origin X. The horizontal display origin of the object. Because we have X, but then there might be origin X that we actually want. Display width, display height. Let's try this. So I'm going to go here and we'll say display height. Height. And see if that fixes it. But if we actually just need the display origin X, that actually might be better because then we don't even have to do any kind of math to get the origin that we want. So go here, new. Yeah, okay. So now I'm thinking maybe I can just go here and say display origin. Display origin Y. And then display origin X. Like actually where it is, not the actual... Wait, wouldn't the origin be the origin though? No, it's up here. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I had it right the first time. Whatever, it was working over here. I thought I was being clever. But we'll go ahead and just change this back like this. And now we are in the correct location. Now, it's fine that it's here. I'd probably kind of offset it a bit and put it up like this. But I'm just trying to think here. Say constant height, and this will be 50. And so in here, we'll put this as the height. And so I'm going to go here and just say minus height as well. Divide by 2, I guess, maybe. And so it kind of sits there a bit, and then maybe plus 32 here. And then it'll just kind of sit in a nice little off area there. There we go. That's kind of what I wanted. It doesn't look dead center, but I think it actually is. Okay, and I probably make the name a little bit larger here. We'll give it a constant width of 400. Width here. And so that will double the width for names that are a little bit longer, as I'm not sure exactly how we were representing those names. But the idea is that the name, that's the name box there. And so now we want to get the name actually into there. So we created the name box. But we actually need to display a name in it, right? So we have this name box and then this dot name text. Add text, yep. The other thing is like we have the UI label, so we could use that as well. I'm not sure if we do need to use it, but that is something that we could do. Here we have it, yeah, it's centering into it, so it actually understands what I'm trying to do here. We'll just put Alex so that we know what actual text we have for now. And we'll give this a nice refresh here. And we have Alex in the box, which is fine. Font's a little bit too small for my eyes, so we'll go ahead and increase that there. But you can see how we'd have to like play around to get the font to really work. I'm not sure if I'll have time for that, but now we actually have the name here. Still too small. I want larger font. I want big font. Let's go 32. Okay, so we have Alex. You can see the font becomes a bit tricky here. Do have to really work in the math here to get the display to look good. Right, there we go. And so now the next thing I want is I want that the actual text to appear here, but we need to load in Alex's name, right? So how's it going to do that? That's a good question, because we should really be loading in the name via the update function, and we haven't really been using the update function whatsoever. So let's go over to our game scene, and we have register advance, load state, start state, update. And so in update, we would probably want to update like this dot UI dialog UI. That's definitely one we want to update. And so this should have an update function, right? And so in the update here, we want to update the text. I'm going to go up here and say this. We'll have this.name text. And wherever that is here, which is here, where's Alex? It's going to be this.name text. Actually, we can just leave it blank. And then in the actual update, it should be kinda, yeah. But I mean, the only thing is that we, our dialog manager, we brought it in, right? I mean, that is a way we can access it. There's no reason we can't do it that way. But I would probably just bring it in as D. It doesn't really matter. It'll still work this way. But we need to go to our actual dialog manager and take a look at what we actually have in here. So we obviously load the node. We got a bunch of junk in here that is probably going to go. So much stuff that I don't think is going to stay here. Lots of stuff with typing effects. Lots and lots and lots of junk. Lots and lots and lots of junk. I'm trying to find like the character name. I thought the character name was in here. Character name, character. Oh, we're in dialog UI. That's how I'm getting confused. We're not actually in the dialog manager. There we go. Okay, so, I mean, there's still a lot of junk in this one too, but we've got get speaker's name. So this would be the mapping of the character. But the problem with this, like, yes, it's mapping the name, but it's still missing the actual, the speaker ID, right? So where's the speaker ID coming from? We're actually setting it here. And I think that instead of setting the speaker ID this way, we should be getting the speaker ID. So I'll go like get speaker name, speaker ID from dialog node, right? That's what we need to do. Assuming that's actually how that works, let's go take a look at our data structure in our scene. In here we have speaker Alex. It's not called speaker ID, it's just called speaker, right? And maybe we should be calling it speaker ID, right? Speaker ID, yep. Notice here, it's not like showing the speaker ID in this, which is kind of annoying. The other thing is like, we don't show the, oh, we have speaker ID player. Yeah, so we have that here. Notice in here, we don't see, I mean, these are our choices. So our choices are always us, right? So we don't actually have to specify that. So in here, if we have speaker ID dialog node, that's fine. If the, if speaker ID equals player, then we'll return player, right? Because we need to do that. Yeah, fix that, please, thank you. If it doesn't have mappings, it's going to kind of mess that up, but the speaker ID should help get the name that way. So that will be the way that we grab it. We're going to go back over to our, was it preload? No, not preload. Our dialog UI, which is over here for some reason. And we, in our update function, we can get the speaker name, right? So that would be the way that we set that text. So hopefully that just works. That'd be really nice if it does. It's crazy because earlier we had a prototype, right? Like it clearly worked, but you know, it doesn't mean the code's any good. Let's take a look. What's its problem? Speaker can't get speaker because we changed it to speaker ID to make it more consistent. Yeah, there we go. We'll change that to speaker ID. And our code's now out of date, like our original prompt document, which we'll have to fix at some point here. We'll get this nice refresh. And I'll go back here. We'll make a new one. We'll go down below, speaker ID, dialog node, speaker ID. Well, I think the node, let's take a look at the node then, because the node at this point should be loaded, right? So if we go here and say console log, this.dialog node, we should have something set here, right? So we'll give this a refresh here. Do we get anything back? We go here. And at this point, it's null. So I thought it got set. Maybe because it hasn't loaded it yet. Dialog data. Start dialog. So here, it is getting, I might call this like load dialog node, and we have this, I'd say list load dialog node, because that's the two things it should probably do right off the bat. Maybe. We'll give this a nice refresh here. We'll click new. We'll take a look here and not figure out speaker ID. Still showing undefined at this point in time. So until the game's actually loaded, we should actually see if it's loaded here. So we'll go back here and we need to fix the condition here. Where's our freaking code? Maybe we'll have like an is loaded. So is loaded. Yeah, checks if the dialog is loaded for rendering. Because if it hasn't done that yet, there's no point in actually setting anything because it's going to have an issue with that, right? And so if we go back over to here, and here we'll just say if parentheses this dot scene dialog manager. Come on, you can do it. Dialog manager is loaded. Then it's fine to go ahead and do this. If it's not, then we don't really want this occurring, right? So that's a bit of a thought there. So we'll go back over to here. Give this a nice refresh here. And we'll click new. And so now no errors. Now we don't see any text here, but it says dialog node not found ID unidentified ID. So it's having an issue with the ID that's being used, or the dialog ID, in the load dialog node. So let's go back over here. It'd be nice if we actually showed errors on screen so that when we know there's a problem, we can do that. I'm not going to do that obviously right now, as I just don't want to balloon out our scope here. But I'm going to look for the dialog ID. Well, did it actually print out and tell us what it was? Because that would actually help. In here, undefined, the ID is just null. Well, how does that help us if there's no dialog ID? This is in load dialog node. So load, we're in the manager here. And in here, this .dialog data, dialog ID is getting it from right here, dialog data it starts at. Is it maybe named differently? We have this issue of like dialog being named two different ways. We might have to fix the consistency of the code so it's less of an issue. But if we go into our, where we store our data, where is it? the save manager in here. It's called dialog. Oh my goodness, what a pain. Just so inconsistent with this stuff, right? I mean, it's my fault, right? Because like I'm not somewhere here, the naming, like here it's all O-U-E and the other one's O. So that's a bit of a problem, but I don't want to rip that out right now. I will fix it because I can't deal with that long term, but we'll go over here. And here it says can't find dialog ID 1. So let's go back over to our code and take a look at what we have here because we're setting it as 1 here. If we go into our scene data, the dialog's called 000, right? So it's not 0, like it's not 1, it's 000, right? So we'll go ahead and do that. A new game always loads the new game stuff there, so that's totally fine. We'll go ahead and we'll say new game. And it should now show 000. I don't think it's erroring out now. I mean, you still have all these things that don't exist, these buttons that don't exist, but we aren't getting that problem anymore. Interesting. Okay, so I'm gonna just switch to sitting here. So I'm just trying to think, how do we get this thing to work, right? All right, just give me a second here. I'm just trying to think here. Failed to download the font too. We also don't have the Noto Sans font, which is fine. That'll be something else we have to try to solve. Okay, so it must be loading the dialog ID now. And I mean, update must be getting called. Update gets called on every single frame. Like it's usually pretty aggressive about updating that stuff. So let's go over to dialog UI. And here, like if it's loaded, so all I can think of is it's not calling this, right? So we'll say console EEE. We might also want to just grab the speaker name here like this. So constant name. And I mean, hopefully what we'll see is it's going to be like tried to be called like so many times, but we won't know until we do it, right? So we'll go ahead and do this here. And we'll go back over to here. We'll give this a nice refresh. And yeah, it's not triggering. So it makes me think that our isLoaded is not working. And I mean, that must be checking on every frame. So we'll go over to our dialog manager where we have our isLoaded function, isLoaded. So here it says dialog data and this dialog node and mappings. So I'm gonna go here, console log. Well, hold on, we'll just do this. Console log. Sorry. So this should be being called like a bunch of times, but it clearly is returning false, right? So here we go, yep. The last one's null. The last one's null. That's our problem. So I'm not sure why that is, but that's fine. The last one is mappings. Mappings is null, eh? This dot mappings, did we not actually set it? Maybe we just set it as a constant. No, it's right there. We didn't load it. Okay, we'll say this dot load mappings. That's probably our problem. I don't think we load it anywhere else, right? No, we don't. So I just kind of forgot to load it. So go back over to here. We'll give this a refresh. We'll go to new game. Now our player is set, so that's good. We can see this is calling a bunch. We don't want all those calls. It's going to kind of smoke us out here if we keep doing that. So we will go ahead and just delete this here and go back here, give this a refresh. Very, very nice. Player is now being shown. I mean, we're the player, but it depends on who is talking, but it's assuming that in this case, the player is talking. Is that really what's happening here? So if we go over and we look at our scene here, the speaker is this. You wake up in a room. And what's kind of interesting is like there is maybe the player talking, but there's also like in your head kind of talking, right? But I think the thing is that this is kind of from the perspective of the narrator, right? And it's kind of describing what's happening in the scene, I suppose. I'd have to play a couple of these games and take a look, but I'm pretty certain that it doesn't ever like narrate to you. It's always you talking in your head, right? So maybe the first initiative here is actually Alex saying good morning. But that's totally fine. So now the next thing we need to do is present the actual text. That is the next challenge here. And so we'll go back over to our, it's almost an hour, just to get that little amount of code in there. But we're going to go back over to our dialog UI, wherever that is. Our dialog UI. Where's our UI? Here it is. And I just want to get the text printing on here, so we will figure that out next. We have create next button. That's a different story. Create controls. We have a lot of controls in here. Toggle language, OpenAI help. Like this is stuff that would occur. Like we have auto mode, skip mode. I'm not sure how to do those right now, so I'm going to go ahead and delete those out here. And same thing with create controls. Notifications is cool, but notifications is something that wouldn't show up in the dialog UI. This would probably be like a global system that we would just have, right? And so I think that this notification thing would show up somewhere else. I think what we would do for this, I think that's closing, right? Create next button. We do need a next button, but we would probably want to use our actual UI to do that. As you can see, we have a lot of busy code here that's going on. Create dialog text is what we're trying to get to. This notification should really go into the notifications UI. Notifications UI, JS. If we need notifications, I wasn't really thinking about adding those. We'll go ahead and do that. We'll say notifications UI, extend the base. Sure, yep. I mean, it's getting it all going. I'm just trying to get it to the end here. There we go. And no, that's not how we do it. If. There we go. And so now we have a skeleton for notifications UI. We want to carry this code over, the show notifications, over to this, because this is really what will happen is we will use this. And we will trigger the notifications when we need it, right? So here it creates a notification. It's weird because it adds it. So this is more like, so it's show notification, but it's more like add notification, or like create notification. This will go here into this dot create notification, right? And here this would tween it, like, and this would be animate. So we'd say animate. And so here, what I would do is cut this here like this. And so this would really be what we want this to do. But right now, we're not going to we're not even going to load that into our game right now. I'm just kind of moving it out of the way. And so now we're focused on this. This code here, we do need a next button. I kind of prefer having a very specific next button that you click as opposed to just clicking the entire screen, because when we have to choose choices, I don't want us to get mixed up between that kind of stuff. And so this next button is not implementing our correct implementation here. So I'm going to go here and just say like this dot g dot No, UIM, sorry, UIM. Create field. Kind of. It's like it doesn't know what it's supposed to do here. I'm going to open up another one just so that, sometimes I think like if I open another window, it kind of helps it out. I'm not really sure if that's the case. But in here, we are creating basically a button. Menu UI probably better. So go here and we have create field. Yeah, it's input type. So we'll go here, input type. There we go. There we go. That's a lot better. We do have event handle here. That's not actually how it works. It doesn't do that. It does need to have, well, hold on. No, that's not. See, it's doing really dumb stuff. I think maybe because it's out of, I don't know if it's like, I don't know why it's being so stupid. I have no idea. But this here is going to be, it's giving the full name. That's not correct. Because it's going to already give an UI button next point down, stuff like this. So this will be dialogue next. We're so inconsistent with this dialogue thing. I'm going to try to use the GOUE, I guess. We'll try to fix it at some point here. Like, so this one's called DIL. Yeah. And then even in here. No, I guess it's fine there. That's fine. So now we have that, obviously. The other thing that we got to figure out, like here, it's trying to set the position based on whatever this is. I don't care about that. We have point over, next, hover. The thing really is this click part. It does play the sound there, which is fine, but that's not how we want it to work. Here it's triggering the typing, where it says like advance the typing or do that. So I'm not exactly sure what I want to do with that right now. So I'm just going to take this completely out, as this is not how I want it to exactly work. We're going to say this stop button. We haven't been adding it to our register and stuff like that. When we will do at some point here, but right now it's not much of a concern. And so I want to get this dialog next button onto the screen. It probably is going to display, just not where I want it to go. It's going to be up here in the top left corner maybe, or the page will crash, we'll see. And I don't even see the button, so it's not even appearing anywhere. I mean, we should probably register it anyway, so we'll go here and just say this dot. Where's our register? No, that's not what we want. Where's our register? Register element, yeah. So this dot register element. This dot next button, because we're not adding it to the menu container, so we'll just put it there. Maybe that will make it appear. We still don't see it. It's a little bit frustrating. Oh, maybe because we never created it. That's probably why. Create next button. There we go. We don't have controls here right now. We'll leave that alone. I do not know why it's doing that. We'll take that out. There's a nice refresh here. New game. And we'll go over here, take a look. Holy smokes, we're getting a lot of stuff here. That's under the get speaker name, so I guess we still have a little bit of code still there. I thought we got rid of that in the dialog manager. Where are you, dialog manager? Here we are. And we'll go ahead, we'll say console log. Take that one out. We do not need that one. I don't want that one. We don't want that one. Okay, that will help us see what we're doing. So go back over to here, we'll give this a refresh. And we'll click next. Okay. And so I don't see our button. I don't see any errors. But I don't see our button on the screen, right? So where is our next button? We need that next button. I don't know if we put any text in that next button, did we? Take a look here. Because it's just a button. Input type button. Position 0, 0. Type, it says next, so it has text input. And oh, we never created it. I thought we added it. Maybe I added it somewhere else. So now I'm kind of wondering, unless I just deleted it out by accident. We do need to create the text dialog, but that'll come after this one here. So we'll do this. Next. We now have our next button. I want it to appear down in the bottom right corner. Or we could also put it down here as well. Or I could put it beside the name. I'm not sure as to where we want to put it. Yeah, I'm just thinking about... I keep realizing my head's kind of low here. Sorry. And now I'm too low or too high. There we go. So we need to move that button to a more appropriate place. And I'm not saying it's going to be the best spot, but for now, I'm just going to go ahead and put it into the side here, right? So to get it over here, I'm going to go ahead and set the origin on the next button to be... Can I set the origin on it? I mean, it says that. I don't know if we can do that, though. Can we set origin on these fields? I don't think so. Did we make like a set origin function? No, so we can't really move that around unless we wanted to build that in there, and I don't want to do that right now. So what I'm going to do is just position it manually. Not a very fun way to do it. But we'll go here and we'll just say... maybe I'll just take what it's given us and we'll just see where it goes. Maybe I'll like it. Maybe I won't. We'll see. Can't even see it. Pointless. We'll go back over to here. So here I have the dialog box plus the dialog width minus 80. I mean, in theory, it sounded good. Like here it says dialog X. Right? So that'd be this. And then dialog width minus 80. Yeah? And then we have dialog Y, which is here, minus the dialog height, so it'd be up here, minus 50. So it should be actually up here in the top right corner. So I'm not sure about that, but I'm gonna put a 0 here just so I can see what's going on. And we will just kind of walk ourselves through this here. I don't see the button at all. We can put a 0, 0 here. Let's just see if there is something else. Like, did it take out the code and to render? Our button's back. And we'll just kind of, again, step through this. Okay, so now it's aligned with this. And then we've taken this here. Oh, it's over here. Okay, good. So now we'll go back over to here. We'll try dialog Y, I guess. Now it's down here. It's not like I'm doing anything magical here. I'm doing exactly what I thought it was supposed to do. And we'll do height here, minus 50. We'll take off this for now. Maybe I just didn't see the button before. I don't know. Yeah, it's not here anymore. Maybe it's the math logic. So if we have, let's go take a look at that again. Keep forgetting, which icon I need. So I'm going to just drag these over here so my life's a little bit easier. And it's doing a plus. It's supposed to minus it. That's the problem. There we go. And same thing with that one. That's probably supposed to minus as well. I don't exactly want 50 on that, but that's fine. We'll give that a check here. Good enough. I actually want it in the bottom right corner probably. So we probably just get rid of this part here, and then this is going to put it more in an appropriate spot that we would like it to be in. Maybe I could bring back that click, but right now I don't know. I want a physical button so I have less problems. And where is it here? But since it's 50-50, I'm just going to say 100. It almost looks like it's centering it. I'm not sure why. Maybe those buttons are still centering. I don't know. So anyway, it's over here. It's close enough. And so we now have that. The next thing is to bring in that display text. So that should be pretty simple. And so we'll go here. We want to create our dialog next. So we'll go up to this. So it'll be this. Create dialog text. We don't need controls. I don't know why I keep showing that. We do have choices, which we want. And we have this here. So it really depends on what it wants, if it's dual or whatever. Right now, all I want to do is display Japanese text. Because the thing is that like if we're having the text, we want to have the text below the other text, or we want to, there's just different ways we can control the text, right? And so some games, they'll actually put the text completely somewhere else and then the Japanese there, or some might put it right under the text. But I would think that we want to put everything below each other. Create the text for the character name. We already have that. We don't need that. So we don't need that. Or actually, do we? Because if it's the character name, wouldn't it have to say the character's name? But wouldn't we just put that in the text as per usual? 1 second. Give me a moment. Actually, wait, no. Basically, the bubble at the top is the person that's speaking, so we don't really need another thing for that. So that doesn't make any sense what I'm saying, eh? So what I'm thinking here is, yeah, we don't need this. This makes no sense. We already have that in our text field box. Here it's talking about create text for the dialog objects, text X, text Y. The X and Y really needs to be aligned with the dialog box. Yeah, it's kind of what we want here. Y, dialog box. But the thing is that this one has to minus this dot dialog box height. Display. No, not that one. Sorry. That one's fine. It's this one here. This one would have minus this dot dialog box. Display height and 32, I guess. Actually, no, it'd be like plus 32 as we want it to be in the interior. And so that would be the first setting where we would have this. And we go down here and fix that. We have this. It's going like this dot scene dot Japanese text. I'm not sure why it's putting it on scene like that, but we actually want to say Japanese text, English text like this. That makes a lot more sense. If we go to the top here, we don't have controls. We'll say this dot Japanese text. We don't even really need to set those. Sometimes it's nice to be explicit. If we used a TypeScript language, then that stuff would have to be explicitly there. I find for video games, when you're working with a team, TypeScript is really, really good. But anyway, the point is that now we have these two here. It's setting origin as 0, 0. That's wrong. We want to have it 0, or 0. Not 0.5, but 0, 0. That's probably why originally when we saw the typewriting effect, it started out kind of centered and weird, was because it set the origins as that. But now those are there, so that's really good. These only get rendered if they need to be shown, I guess. So we're going to go down to the update function, wherever that is here. Update, 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 update. And so we need to update the... I wasn't thinking of that. I was thinking more like update Japanese text. Here we have like if the game setting language is this. It's not seeing game setting language. It's pulling up old stuff that doesn't exist. It's because of this here. It's not that. It's this.scene.g.saves or settings dot get language. And if it is Japanese, or if it's this, then it will do that, right? So that's what it's actually looking for. Very, very verbose what we're doing here. This saying this dot scene doesn't make any sense. It's just this dot. This here. Dialog manager settings. So yeah, those are wrong. So we'll go ahead and fix that. Sorry. And so now this should be a little bit more manageable. It'd be nice if that text shows up. The only thing is, like, will it wrap the text? I guess if we define the width, oh, it has a word wrap on it. There you go. But the width is going to be really the width of the thing. So we'll go here and say constant width. This will be this dot dialog box with -64. Really should bring in the margin of whatever that is, the margin. So the margin is that. And I might just go here and just say, like, this dot margin is 32. So wherever we are using margin here, we can just do that. We say this, this. And so there's another spot where we are using this, where we are creating that text for the dialogue. Where it is here. So we have margin. Yeah, this margin times 2. And I'm going to go here and do padding as well. This dot padding equals 32. Might as well just do it up both like that. Margin. And then we have this padding dot 2. And so that will get us the size that we actually want this to be. And then we can say width, like that there. Same thing here. Set the width there. So that makes it really clear what it needs to set as the width. It also updated those settings there, which is good. We have X's and Y's in here for the add text. This, so it's in the dialog box. I think that should work. The only thing is that if we have Japanese and English, one has to be one under the other, right? But right now, they're the same. They have the same Y value, which doesn't make sense because one would have to be under the other, and it would have to know the length of the other text. They would have to type at the same time. This is why, like, the typing effect, I'm not sure if it is very effective or not, especially for language learning. If it shows up like each word at a time as they say it, or it highlights as they say it, that might be a little bit more interesting, but right now we don't have that. So I'm gonna go back over to here. We'll give this a nice refresh. And so it has a problem with language. I tend to type that word wrong all the time. It says game settings still. I thought we got rid of that. Where is this in? Dialog UI. I don't know where it keeps getting that game settings from. So we need to find this game settings thing. It's not, oh, you know, this file's not saved. That's why. Okay. So go back over to here. Whoops. Go back over to here. We'll give this a nice refresh here. And we'll hit new. We still have an error. Let's go take a look here. And this is set text is undefined for property. This is on the Japanese text. It's showing scene again. The stupid scene thing. I don't know again why it did that. So we'll go over here and look for scene.text. one's fine. Those don't matter. That doesn't matter. Maybe it's in the update function. Yeah, it's still doing that. There we go. So that was probably the one that was lingering. Here it says get Japanese text, get English text. We don't have those implemented, so I'm probably just going to go over there and just do that right now. If we can find the dialog manager here, wherever that is. We'll get the get Japanese text. It is really not doing anything anymore for us. We have, yeah, get Japanese text. Get English text. It's not exactly that for the text. We'll have to go and take a look at the actual structure. And we have Japanese and English, right? So really, for the dialog node, it's simply just English and Japanese, that easy. So I'm going to go back over to here. Get Japanese text. Let's say it's undefined. Maybe we didn't save the file. No, I think we did. The text is named correctly. It's definitely there. So we'll go back here. I'm just going to stop and start it. Maybe this node here, it's having issues with that. I'm not sure. We'll go back over to here. This dialog undefined on the maybe because it's the way it's calling dialog manager. I kind of want to go and saying this scene dialog manager. I mean, that is what it's called. I'd rather just pass it in like this, dialog manager. Dialog manager, and then say this.d equals dialog manager. That way I'll have less of a headache working with this. And then we'll go back into our game scene. And in here, yeah, I'm just going to do that. Dialog manager, pass it in there, which is up here. So it definitely does exist. We'll go back into our dialog UI. And it'll be, yeah, just D now. So here, this can just be D. That's fine. See, it's really doing dumb stuff. I really think that it's not being smart anymore. It's just, I ran out of credits, and I mean, it's like it's doing something, but it's not doing something that I actually want, right? So, I mean, like, yeah, I don't need that changed yet. Oops. Holy smokes, what is it doing? Okay, but I don't want it to say like there's no more Japanese text, because there definitely is. All right, so we now have our Japanese text. There is obviously a little bit of work that needs to be done to fix the level of text. What's interesting is that the English is actually appearing right below the Japanese, which is pretty good. I'm going to go back over to Windsurf here, and the text needs a little bit of help. So we'll go here, and we have y minus 30, y plus 30. Oh, okay, so it actually is adjusting it relative to the y position. But the thing is that we don't want minus 30 plus 30. It should just be minus minus, right? So if we, but the thing is, like, if 1 doesn't appear, it's not going to be additive, right? Which is kind of silly. So here we would have, it's like, we'll just say offset y. So say let offset y be equal to y. And then here, this one is going to be offset y. Right, we don't need to do anything further with that. Here, we should really add the padding. That is the dialog test. We do the width padding here, but we didn't do it here. I mean, we technically did do it there. I'd probably just times it by 2, even though it's not necessarily what we're actually doing in the same sense. It's the same kind of padding. But I'm going to do that anyway. Well, that's the dialog X. Oh, sorry, no. Dialog X should stay that. So this will be this dot margin. That makes sense. And then here, I'll do this dot padding times 2, which is not really true, but we'll just do that anyway. And we have offset Y. And then here, if this exists, we'll say offset Y plus, yeah, like whatever it is. Now, that's not necessarily accurate because it's actually supposed to take the height of the text field, right? So here it would actually be, I don't know if we can do this, we'll say this dot Japanese text display height, right? And so then that becomes its actual offset. The only thing is, like, there's that plus the padding, right? So that plus the padding, and that should put it in its correct location, assuming that that's what it does. So we'll go back over to here. Okay, and now we have our text perfectly aligned. So we are getting pretty close to something. The only challenge here is, like, we have this text here, which is great, but you can see, like, the English translation is longer than the Japanese text. And so, you know, is this good as a language learner? I don't know. Like, a lot of them like to try to show it, and then maybe you like read it, or it shows the translation another way. I think that like when you have visual novels, they're usually designed to be enjoyed. They're not a language learning experience. So they're not trying to optimize the presentation of the dual translation. But I think that if I was to do the dual translation here, maybe I would make the Japanese text larger, and then if you hover over the words, it would show it. The original implementation was actually trying to do that. And if I needed the full translation, maybe there's something that I could like hover or click or something to see that translation. So I think that's fine. I don't think I would do dual text the way that it's being displayed here. But anyway, it is a interesting start, right? And I'm just gonna continue forward with this, but we're gonna stop the video here as we've hit a checkpoint. So yeah, again, not sure if I'll do that typing text, because if we bring in audio, right, the typing text isn't gonna really work, because then when it plays out, it's not going to match the text, which would be kind of annoying. It'd be cool if it like highlighted the text as it went, or something like that, but we'll see what we'll have to figure out. We are getting some fonts in here, so it's interesting. It said Google font didn't load it, but it clearly did. But yeah, just looking at this English font, I don't really like it the way it, or like the English text. I don't really like that it's there. I would, yeah, I would have to think about that, like where to put it. But anyway, thanks for joining the stream or video. I'll see you in the next one. Okay, ciao.